How's it going, everybody? It's the Desert Viking on another sunny, wintry desert day. Wintry meaning it's about 70 degrees outside and sunny, which is kind of chilly for my area of the country. It's been a little bit. I've said I will be posting videos as I see fit or as I am inspired to do so, so I'm not in a rush to push out content, but it's a little bit to go over, a little bit to discuss. In good news, in 2 days, I will be taking my initiation into the Freemasonic Order, and I'm very excited about that. I'm finally doing something I probably should have done 25 or so years ago. So that'll be an experience for me, and I look forward to discussing that here on this channel. What I wanted to talk about today, or what inspired me to come in today, is to talk a little bit about declarations and setting goals. And why that is that I know when I've done these videos over the past however long, if you notice, I don't use numbers anymore, declaring the week, because I just don't care anymore. I've kind of moved past that, and it's just, here's my thoughts. A lot of the videos or a lot of the talks that I've done here were done for my benefit as much as anyone else's. They were there for me to act as a sounding board for myself. This video is more directed at you as opposed to me. Now, there are people in my lives who struggle with issues, and those issues are many. And when I say many, they take many forms. But a lot of those issues can be resolved through declarations and setting goals, setting realistic goals. So what do I mean? It's very easy to fall into the trap of laying about and feeling sorry for yourself, but not actually doing anything about it. The whole point of my journey that started last spring was not to do that. And I set 3 immediate goals when I began that journey. The first was the physical goal, where I said I'm going to take possession of my physical body. I am going to be the best physical version of myself that I can be. And I've had some success with that. I've had some injuries, and I've had to lay off that a little bit. But I'm still on track to get under a weight that I've not been at since I was in the Army. As of this morning, I'm 212 pounds, and the lightest I've ever been was when I moved here, and I was 211 pounds. So I'm a pound away from the lowest weight I've been, and 2 pounds away from being the lightest I've been since I was in the military at 19 years old, 18 and 19 years old. And I did that through setting realistic goals. The second goal that I had to overcome was that professionally in my career, I was stagnant, and with AI on the loose, dismantling jobs, stockholders excited about dismantling jobs to automate as much as possible to reclaim that money for the salaries for their own gain. I had to do something, and so I enlisted in school. And now I am set. Right now I'm going to graduate this fall, currently as summa cum laude, meaning one of the top of my class, with another degree, and this one in leadership, science, psychology, leadership. And I'll be moving into a graduate program, a master's degree. And that's my goal. My goal was, I am going to achieve these degrees to help me advance professionally and just try to stay on top of the collapsing job market. Because my career and what I spent the last 25, 30 years doing, I don't think will be valid in the next 3 to 5 years. And I don't have anything to fall back on, unfortunately. So that'll open some doors. Spiritually, I was brokenhearted. I was destroyed, utterly destroyed. And I had to begin building myself back up again. And the path I chose was one I've been kicking around for a long time. I've studied it, and I've studied other esoteric schools, mystery schools, etc. And that was joining a Freemasonic lodge. And I did that not only because I feel that I was led to that. I feel that's why I'm here. I was brought to this part of the country specifically to be a part of the lodge that I'm at. But also, I need to have people around me, and I can't be isolated. Humans aren't meant to be isolated. So you need to find, for men, we need to find that brotherhood that I don't have, that I didn't have. And so by being initiated here in the next couple of days, it's been it'll be 8 months. It's been an 8-month-long journey, being where I have to be, doing what I have to do before I was accepted and the vote went through, and I made it through the vote. So the example of all those things was that at the moment of my problem, at the moment of my breaking, that I had to first identify the problems that I was suffering then. And those problems were, number one, I was overweight. I was sick. Those things needed to be remedied. Those played a big role in my engagement breaking, like it or not. Whether we, love and relationships are built around transactions mostly. And I was not fulfilling my part of the transaction. Second, I identified that my job, my career was in jeopardy. My ability to maintain myself was in jeopardy. And I have no one else to fall back onto. I have no one who's going to help me pay my bills or help me live. It's me. So either I'm doing it for myself or I'm out and I live in the street. So I have to do that. And third, how do I rebuild myself spiritually? I identified that as a problem and found a solution. In all three of those instances, I set achievable goals. Now, in setting goals, you never stop setting goals throughout your life. You never stop striving to be a better person. Every day that passes is a new opportunity for something great to happen. Every day that passes that something not so great happens or bad happens is a way for you to take that problem. Here's my little perspective gem, one of them, is to take the problem and spin it to look at a different face, to find the good in that problem. Where can you improve yourself from that problem? Where can you make yourself better? And we're going to be making these goals, and we're going to be having to do self-introspection throughout our entire lives. There's not ever a point where you're just done and you can coast. Stagnation leads to entropy, which is the natural state of things. We want to resist entropy. We want to strive to continue to make ourselves better, however that may be. That being said, every human being has vices and weaknesses. So we have strengths and we have weaknesses. It is important to know both. What is your strength? What are your strengths? And what are your weaknesses? And to constantly be able to set goals to shore up those weaknesses. We will, as human beings, always have weaknesses. We will always have things about ourselves that can be improved upon. We have to be honest with ourselves. Number one, that's the most important thing. You have to be honest with yourself with what your weakness is. You have to accept what that weakness is, and then you have to look at how do you conquer that weakness? How do you make that a strength instead of a weakness? Now, very recently, while I was, the vote went through to bring me into the lodge, which is exciting. I also suffered a setback in life that was brought about by one of my weaknesses, which I'll talk about in a moment. And that's really what made me step back and think. You have to do, every day you have to do introspection. You have to examine where you fall short. Now, our vices for everyone range in severity, in what they are. And the important thing to know, number one, is that it is real for that person. It is painful for that person. It doesn't matter if you feel it's not a big deal. That person does. So it's real to them. So you cannot belittle someone for their vices. And those vices can range from major things like drug addiction, alcohol addiction, food addiction, gluttony, being moderately overweight, being severely overweight, being morbidly overweight, whatever. Overweight is overweight. Being addicted to attention, needing to tell stories to make yourself out to be bigger than you are. The list goes on and on. There are many things that we as people may suffer from. But the first step is identifying what those are. Okay. So identify what those are. So for me, my vices, my weaknesses, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't really drink. I don't touch drugs. I do my best to stay active. So that's great. My vices and weaknesses come mainly from trauma and mental. And these are things that I've had to grapple with most of my life. And really it boils down to, for me, I have to have control at all times. And the reason I have to have control at all times stems from multiple trauma facets, from physical abuse as a child to betrayal trauma to people leading me off of cliffs professionally, being on teams that are poorly managed and have led me to lose my job. All of those mix in to create a problem for me, and that problem is I have a need for control. Because I have a good track record of seeing my own ship through storms, and I have a good track record of when I am given control over projects professionally, that they succeed. So that means I might sound a little arrogant by thinking that my way is usually right. And I can lose perspective a lot of times. And so because I always have to be in control, that rubs people the wrong way, especially if they are the ones who are in control. The next issue that I run into a lot, which stems from needing control, is that I can get emotional when I lose control, when I don't have control, when someone else is telling me what to do. I am very averse to being a servant. I do not like it. And a lot of that, again, that comes from childhood. That comes from being forced into servitude, basically, doing things I did not want to do under penalty of being beaten. That's not a good thing, though. You know, servitude can be a good thing in certain conditions, and those are lessons that I have to learn. But I do not like servitude or feeling like I'm a servitude, and because of that, because I am fairly intelligent, objectively, what I end up doing is I try to take control of the situation through my intellect, which comes off condescending. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to come off condescending. And when I do the things and say the things I do, it's not meant to be condescending. It's just that I'm confident in what I'm saying, but I'm resisting what you want through trying to rationally out debate you, which comes off as condescending in many ways. So those are the things that I grapple. Those are the strong weaknesses right now that I grapple with. And I've grappled with that for many years. I can pull up many stories where I've rubbed someone the wrong way by trying to take control of a situation that I had no business trying to do, or trying to inject myself where I should not be injecting myself. Now, that to me is a vice as much as being addicted to food or being addicted to drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever. Because what that does is handicap me socially. Big time. And as social creatures, humans can't afford to be handicapped socially. That's essentially a death sentence. When you're sent off on your own and exiled from the group, that is a death sentence. So I know, and I've recognized that that's a problem for me. So I need to recognize that and find ways to work on it. Now, some ways that I've identified to work on it. Why am I talking about all this? Well, because I'm giving you my own examples. And maybe these examples don't relate to you in any way, but I know that if you're listening, you have vices of your own that you may have to come to terms with. Maybe you've already come to terms with. Regardless, I'm giving an example of what I'm doing. Maybe that will shed some light on your perspective. So for me, there's a few things that I need to do. Number one, I need to listen more than I speak. I need to practice active listening. And in some cases, I need to force myself into active listening. And I know I'm going to struggle with this at first. My hope is that over time I get better with it as a skill. But I'm going to actively listen, which means I'm not going to contribute to the conversation by injecting my own opinion unless I'm asked or there's an appropriate time to do that. I am simply going to observe and listen. I'm going to watch. I'm not only going to listen to what is being said, I'm going to watch for nonverbal cues as well, facial expressions, tone of voice, so forth. So essentially what I need to do is stop being as over-communicative as I am and communicate much less, much less. And I will be practicing that. So active listening, number one. Number two, I need to put myself into positions where I'm more of a servant. So there's two ways I'm doing that. Number one, well, professionally, I'm probably going to have to, at least until I finish these college degrees, I have to come to grips with the fact that 5 years ago, I could find a lead or a management job in my field pretty easily because I have deep experience, but I lack the advanced degrees. That didn't matter back then. It matters today because there's a lot of people laid off, so they can be more picky. So I have to come to terms with the fact that even though I've managed and even though I've led teams for years, and even though there are people on my team who I've been doing this professionally longer than they've been alive. I've been in my profession for 30 years. So anyone who's in their 20s, I have been developing software and creating systems longer than they've lived. Some of them may be in charge of me. And that does rub me the wrong way. And that's an ego problem. That's my ego problem. And I have to embrace that and not inject myself and just let it be. Now, once I've completed my degrees, I can start pursuing again roles where I fit in better. As I have a lot more to offer than just menial work, but I have to accept where I'm at right now. So I have to tame my ego by putting myself professionally through roles that I may not enjoy, but it's just what, you got to do what you got to do. And then last, I'm going to be an entered apprentice, which is the lowest rank in the lodge, which means I'm going to be asked to serve. And I've already done that. That's washing dishes, that's mopping floors, that's serving food, that's cleaning up, that's moving furniture, that's doing landscaping outside of the lodge. All of the things that I've not really had to do in a long time, I have to embrace again. It's kind of like being in the Army. It's kind of like taking some steps back and being 18, 19 years old again and doing servitude type tasks. And in doing those tasks, I need to be mindful while I'm in that moment doing those tasks that I am here to serve and that I should be happy to serve. That can be difficult, and that is going to be difficult for me because, again, my vice is about control. My vice is about controlling my own ship and my own destiny, and I don't like giving that to someone else. But I have to. I've identified this as a problem in my life. I don't want to come off as condescending to people. I don't like rubbing people the wrong way. Yes, if you have an opinion, people will either love you or hate you. But it is now time for me to back off with my opinions and just kind of listen and just kind of accept to be in the backdrop. Now, I have goals in the order. My plans in the order are, once I've finished my master, third degree, that I will be moving into the Scottish Rite to obtain the 32nd degree. I will be active as a researcher. I will be active as a writer. I will be active as a lecturer. I will be active in our library, serving and helping our librarian. I will be looking into becoming a Templar. Those are all things that are strongly calling to me, and those are all goals. I have set goals that are very specific. That's the key. Very specific goals. So in your life, if you have issues that you're trying to overcome, the first step is you have to identify what your weaknesses are. But even before you identify what your weaknesses are, we'll call it step 0. You have to do what I call taking the red pill. And I don't mean this from the manosphere or any of that. I'm speaking directly from the Matrix. You have to be able to take the red pill to see life as it is. And you have to be willing to do that. The things you've been brought up, taught to believe, are largely not true in many facets and many layers. The reality we live in is observable, and life is cruel, life is hard, and no one cares. Those are absolute truths. Relationships are largely transactional, relationships at any level. So understand that. You have to have something to offer someone for them to want to give time back to you at any capacity. Not even just talking about love. I'm talking about any capacity, business, friendship. There's got to be something you're contributing. It's not enough to just be nice or have a nice personality. Okay, you have to be able to contribute something. Understand that that's how life is. Accept that that's how life is. But that doesn't mean you despair. That means now you set about setting goals to make yourself better. Step 1, identify your weaknesses. What is it exactly that you are trying to fix? What is it exactly that you are trying to fix? Step 2, once you've identified those problems, identify solutions to those problems. There are always solutions to problems. There are always solutions to obstacles. Obstacles are thrown in our way as a means to test us. But sometimes obstacles are put in our way because we've put them in our way through our own choices. Sometimes obstacles are put in our way through karma, that we are paying back something we've done in the past. All three of those are valid. Regardless, an obstacle is an obstacle, and you have to get over the obstacle. You don't get over the obstacle by not approaching the obstacle or hiding from the obstacle or trying to find a shortcut around the obstacle. You have to go over the obstacle. You have to go through the obstacle. That's up to you. That's up to each of us to figure out. Lamenting that your neighbor or your brother or your sister or that guy you know has it easier doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the situation. People aren't going to go, oh, you're right. They have it easier, so you should have it easier too. Here, let me make this easier for you. That will never, ever happen. There will always be people that have it easier, and there will always be people that have it harder. That's life. That's not important. What's important is that you get over the obstacle. So identify your problem to find the solution to your problem. The solution to your problem is declaring and setting goals, declarations. A declaration is simply you declaring that you will achieve this thing. It is important that goals be very specific and attainable and realistic. If you are, for example, needing to lose 100 pounds, 200 pounds, it doesn't matter. You have a lot of weight you need to lose. It's not realistic to say, my goal is to lose 200 pounds. That's not an easily attainable goal. If it was, no one would suffer from that. If it was that easy to lose weight, no one would suffer from that. But saying, I'm going to lose 25 pounds. Okay, that's certainly doable. I'm going to lose 25 pounds in 12 weeks. Well, the bigger you are, the easier it is to lose a lot of weight faster. So that's attainable. What you want to do is make sure that you're talking to a doctor or talking to a fitness person and measuring, is this attainable? Can I do this in 12 weeks and not have some bro science guy tell you that you can do it? Because bro science people will be bro science people. They're going to talk out their ass. So as an example, I was 228 pounds last May, and I wanted to get down, my goal was to get under 200 pounds in a year. So lose 28 pounds. And considering my goal weight, my ideal weight, it was 205 pounds. My doctor wanted it now to be 195 pounds. For me to lose 28 pounds when I'm only 25 pounds overweight, that's more difficult than if I was 200 pounds overweight. And then I could lose 25 pounds easily. So anyhow, I'm not harping on weight. That's just the easiest one to put a number to. It's objective. Set the goal. Set it, make it attainable. And then step 3, you got to do it. Just saying you're going to do it doesn't do anything. If you're a drug addict or you're addicted to alcohol, you need to go to AA. You need to go seek help. If you're a sex addict, you need to go seek help. Sometimes therapy's good. You need to find the outlets and the routes that will take you to the help that you need, but you actually have to do those things. So all this requires you getting real with yourself. You have to. If you're not real with yourself and you just like to live in a world of illusion and safety blankets and, putting your head in the sand, you'll always suffer from your problems. They will never change. So get out and do it. So if when I wanted to lose weight, what did I do? Well, I went and got a fitness trainer, a nutritionist, fitness trainer, and he told me what to eat, when to eat, and how much to work out. And I did it, and I saw success. But I was up doing the work all the time. I want to get my degree. What do I got to do? I have to actually enroll in school and do the work every day. You have to do the work. No one's going to do it for you. So that's my little spiel today. Declarations, setting goals. You have it in you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. But it's not going to happen magically. No one's going to wave a wand and have it just be done for you. You actually have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. I have to put in the work. Everyone has to put in the work to see any success or results. Thank you for listening. Next time you see me, I will have gone through my initiation. I'm looking forward to actually starting to delve into some philosophical, spiritual cornerstones like the Kabbalah, and how you can use that as a good way to meditate on some of the things we even talked about today, just now. If you have any advice, you have any stories you wish to tell, drop them in the comments below. I love to read them. Until then, I hope everyone's doing well. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon.